We're getting ready to produce an interview with Juan and Rika. They have a very interesting story, and those of you who know what we've been trying to do at Mr. Mold Inc., it's pretty much creating awareness. We've been really trying to get not only the interviews of all the individual stories that have been taking place of people who have suffered from mold-related illness, indoor air quality, water damaged buildings, sick building syndrome. But one of the things that we've been trying to do is really getting doctors not only aware of this situation, but getting certified in the process to be able to screen, diagnose, and treat this illness. Mainly what we want to know is your story. I know you've probably had, your dark side with mold and everything you guys have been experiencing. We want to know some of the details if it's possible. I know sometimes in the past when I've done these kind of interviews, it's a little bit touchy and it opens up kind of like, some of the wounds in the past. But I think it's important for people to understand, especially the ones that are going through a dark place right now. People are reaching out to us, and Mr. Mold Inc. has become sort of kind of like the conduit for people who hear the information, they relate to the stories, they hear other interviews, and then they come up and they're like, I'm suicidal at this point. I don't know what to do. I've been through all these different doctors, specialties, and they keep saying that I have this, fibromyalgia, multiple sclerosis, that I have, chronic fatigue, and all these labels that they put on Western medicine, and people really are up to their wits' end. They need to understand that they're not alone, that this is probably a long journey, but one of the things we want to do is keep people from suffering 3, 5, 6, 10 years without knowing what's going on with their environment. So without further delay, please tell us a little bit about your experience and some of the things that you've gone through with this horrible illness.
Well, a few years ago, we were living in one place, and I started to feel, my first symptom was I started to get very, very exhausted, and I couldn't figure out why I was just exhausted all the time. And I'm a tennis pro, and I'm fairly healthy, and at that time I just could not figure out why I was getting so tired, and literally coming home and telling my wife that I needed to take naps in the afternoon for breaks and was having trouble getting up. Then I started to forget things, and that became very problematic because I didn't understand why I was forgetting my keys, forgetting my phone, coming back to get my phone, still leaving my phone, leaving my keys then, and it started to become just very stressful because I couldn't understand what was going on with my body. And I kept trying to explain to my wife, and she didn't know what was going on either. And
also you had a lot of GI problems. We went to see all these specialists.
Okay.
They told him he might even have a colon cancer.
Wow.
We had to do a colonoscopy, they had to do all these different scopes from everywhere. They didn't find nothing.
Did they ever say that you had leaky gut?
No, he did not have that.
Okay.
But he had the symptoms of something. And the first thing they said, well, they never say the cancer word, but they were very worried because of the symptoms he had. Just some, so we had to go through probably 3-4 different specialists. And at that time, when he went through those testings, we found out that we have that leak in the house.
Okay.
It literally, the paint started peeling off the wall. Like, one day after a lot of rain, my husband's like, what's going on with that wall? And I'm like, yeah, that's a lot of moisture. Where is it coming from? And came to find out there has been a big leak. We don't even know for how long. So it had created the toxic Staphylococcus was the biggest that we found, and the penicillium.
Aspergillus.
Yeah, both of those were just growing inside that wall. So that's how we started figuring things out.
Now, quick question. So, just taking it a step back, it's not uncommon to hear stories of people who were very active before they became ill. You mentioned that your lifestyle, you're a pro athlete. So you played tennis, and if you don't mind just saying a little bit about what your life was like, and while you were going through this transition, a pro athlete who is at the peak of his health, training and not getting tired easily, all of a sudden you're experiencing chronic fatigue, you're getting tired, you're probably experiencing some foggy brain and
yes.
you know, having trouble thinking about the next words, out of your mouth, forgetting things. Probably, maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, but Western medicine and mainstream doctors, one of the first things that they tell you is maybe you got to play a little bit more golf, or you got to relax a little bit more. They attribute this to stress that may be going on in your life, because they really don't understand.
They don't, and also because he started getting sinusitis all the time. He was always just has infections. Of course, what does doctors do? They prescribe antibiotics. Well, that's actually the worst thing you can do.
Absolutely.
When you are dealing with a person with mycotoxins in his body, plus sometimes steroids just to keep the lungs better. And it's like, now we know it's the worst thing, but back then, we didn't know until we started doing research, and then when we started realizing what's going on with the mold and him, and our sons were sick all the time, both of them. They started missing school all the time. They had these weird high fever peaks for a week, and then it would just disappear. And it wasn't like a normal flu. One had GI problems also. The other one actually has asthma now from it. So, and he's a tennis player. So it's been tough. It has really altered.
How long did it take before you noticed that there was a problem with latent mold in your house after you started suffering these symptoms?
I want to go back to when you were saying about me being an athlete.
Yeah.
That really hurt me because when you're an athlete and you're used to having your body be a certain way, and your body's not responding to how it should be, and the doctors and no one has an answer for it, I started to get a little depressed about it because I didn't know what was going on. And I coach. I work with some of the national players, junior players, and I've even worked on the pro tour. And I started to lose clients because they were telling me on court, you were just kind of wandering around and you were forgetting literally your lesson, and we're not paying money for you to be forgetting. And it started to hit me very hard because I said, what am I doing wrong? I couldn't remember that I did that. I couldn't remember that I went to the toilet and I was there for almost 10 minutes and then I wandered back out. And the parents were upset with me because I had no explanation to why I was being like this. And it started to really hurt me, and I would come back to my wife and I'd say, I'm losing customers now, I'm losing business, I'm losing money for us. And there was one point where I literally, when we knew something was really wrong, I was at the parking lot and I couldn't find my car. And I started to panic, and I literally had a breakdown because I did not know where my car was. And mind you, my car was only maybe 30 feet away from me, but I couldn't see. I didn't know. I was so confused.
Yeah.
That I literally broke down in the parking lot, and I called her. I said, I can't find the car. I don't know where I'm at. And we said, okay, we have to go in and really find out what's going on. And at that time, our primary physician, we went in, and when I was sitting there, my blood my sugar
Blood
level.
sugar. Yeah, that's
level-
another thing. It affected his blood sugar levels. It would just suddenly drop down. And it actually happened right in the doctor's office. He had gone in before and tried to explain, look, I just feel like my blood sugar just drops suddenly. And they said, no, your blood work is fine. Everything looks normal. And it happened right in front of the doctor's eyes. And we said, look, this is exactly what happens. He has to literally stop driving a car sometimes because he gets that fatigue and he feels like he has to eat some sugar or something. But now we know what was going on. The mycotoxins just caused a havoc in his body. Like literally everything was just going bonkers.
And all the while, everything that's going on, there's nothing worse, in my opinion, than as a human being, having uncertainty. You're going through all these feelings and emotions, and you're forgetting, and you don't know what to say. Your mind is going crazy. You're going through all these panic attacks, and
He was saying, look, literally, I feel like I know there's something wrong with me, but everybody keeps saying I'm fine. He's like, I'm not fine. Blood work looked normal. They couldn't find anything in his testings. It's like, and he knew. And I said, it's the mold. We're gonna have to start. And we had a lot of trouble. Who we were renting from to take it seriously. A lot of trouble.
So you were renters, and you were having to deal. That's another uphill battle, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we were renting the home, and we let them know what was going on. But because we were quote unquote not professionals, mold remediators, they didn't want to hear from us. So we finally paid to have the person come in, and literally the guy came in. He said, "You need to get your kids, and you need to get up.
Yeah.
You need to go
The
right
levels
now."
were so high.
He said, you need to go right now. Don't take anything else. Take your kids, your wife, go." So we were staying in a hotel, trying to stay in a hotel. The kids don't know what's going on. We're far away from their school. We're trying, we're confused. We don't know.
We knew we can't go back in our house because it was that bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then we ran out of money, and we were literally in our car.
Wow, that's so sad. And we hear this story a lot of times when people lose it all. Can you tell us a little bit about what it's like to be a loving wife next to somebody who's going through all these things, and what you thought at that moment, and what advice can you give to relationships that are being broken as we speak, people that are to their wits and not believing that their families, that their spouse are they've become hypochondriacs, and that they've just lost their marbles, so to speak. What can you tell us about what you went through during those times as a spouse, and what advice would you give?
Well, probably in my case, because I'm a nurse and I have an experience with Alzheimer's and special needs, and that's my specialty. So I have a lot of just experience with struggles and challenges that people have in their lives, and that's my expertise. So when he started going through this, I just put my nursing mode on, honestly. And because our relationship is very strong and our base is very strong, I don't know, I never doubt that I would leave him, or it's just not even in my mind. But
that's
I know
a blessing in itself. It's a blessing in itself.
It's just something I'm not. I'm here. I'm here. I know this is not his fault. So why would I not help him and get him better, and we can do it together? And because of my knowledge as a nurse, I can help him even more.
Absolutely.
So I'm not scared. I just research.
That's great. That's wonderful.
So I would say to people, don't be scared. There's always hope, and research. Research. More you know, more knowledge you have, you can start putting things together, and you can start finding solutions.
Right. Now, something about research that I've noticed is, some of this information, and it just continues to come out more and more and more. You mentioned that they did air samples, and the guy did, what I would do as
and
well, which
swipes
is,
and-
to, remove yourself from the environment, which is the most important thing. Now, a lot of the research is showing that air samples are 0.25% accuracy rate compared to ERMI or HERTS-Me2.
Yes, which we've done in this house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
we have to test everything now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I encourage everyone to do is to test their house, do it at a genomic level.
Absolutely.
Because you really never know down the line how this is going to affect your life. Now, before you found out, once you found out that you had the mold, how progressed were you in this illness? What were some of the things that you've already discovered?
For me, trouble breathing, eyes were burning. I felt like I had the flu all the time. Was just weak. My temperament would fluctuate.
Mood swings?
Yeah, but my head, I had headaches that I can't explain how bad the headaches were. Rashes. I started to get these bumps that would get all over my body, and I'm telling her, like, I have marks from the bumps that they have left on my body. What really, we knew something was wrong because I would go to places and then I could smell. Wherever I'd go, I could smell like the dampness, the mildew, the mold, like these things, and I would immediately, my eyes started to burn, I'd feel sick, and just the aches. I had aches in my joints.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And to the point where I couldn't walk.
No.
I couldn't
Her hip was
walk.
hurting so bad.
That's amazing.
But we never put that we didn't think about it until now later. That had to be it too. Because it was the same time. It was a little bit earlier, but we believe the mold has been there since we moved in for 2 years. I think it was there already, like little by maybe, I don't know. But when he started having the symptoms since we discovered it, maybe 4 months before or so, started getting really bad.
Now these symptoms started to stack up, and those who know a little bit about CIRS or chronic inflammatory response syndrome understand that you could have up to 40 different symptoms, and they start mounting up one on top of the other to the point where you really become incapacitated. You really don't have a lot of access to do a lot of the things that you used to do before. And going back to what you said about going to a place and being able to detect mold, some people have described it as a supernatural power that you don't want to have. It's when you get sensitized.
Yes.
And you're able to walk into a place and boom, you're automatically, it's like a superpower. Everybody thinks, no, I don't smell it, I don't feel it, but you can. Because
I can too, even though I wasn't affected. Genetically, we found out that's why he got so sick, because genetically he's the 25% of population that is pre-exposed to it. Yeah. I only got really bad throat burn. I lost my singing voice for like how many months? That's what I got from it. Like literally my throat was like on fire.
And you were tested for your genes too, and the HLA?
No,
DR.
because it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
That's
unfortunately, they don't take don't take insurance when you go to mold specialist. So he was so sick. It literally has focused on him and our other son, who got quite sick too. But that's just my own personal opinion, because we know genetically he is, and the boys are like kind of halfway there. Okay. So I must be, maybe just my genetic background is different.
Yeah, I mean, we see this a lot where, different members of the families are the ones who really display a lot of the different issues with the mold toxicity. And was this all here in Miami, or?
Yes.
Okay, so it was a house that you were renting in Miami.
Yes.
And once you find out, you started going to doctors, and then right around the time that you found out, how long after that was it when you were given the certainty that this is what's happening to you? How was that moment, if you can describe that enlightenment?
Again, when we found out and he told us, we got the test back, and because I was so still foggy, I didn't know how to read the results, and my wife read them, and she said, look, we can't be here. This is above the levels. That's what's been happening to you. So we then were told that we need to find a mold specialist, and at the time there was only one, Dr. Tanya. So we went there and we went through the testing, my son and I, and that's when I was told that I had SIRS. And
well, they did series of testing.
Yes, they did the testing,
the
blood
eye
work,
test, the neuroquant MRI.
Okay. Genie?
Not sure if it's probably.
So this is one of the latest, the latest tests out there right now.
Yeah.
It's something that they just rolled out recently, which is genetic nanostring and transcriptomics. Some of the other exams that are taking place. But for those who don't know, Dr. Greg Taniel, it was the first Ritchie Shoemaker protocol certified physician here in South Florida. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because what my uphill battle is mainly to try to get doctors to get that certification, to learn about this. So what we have is, we have boots on the ground, people that are going door to door, talking to doctors, trying to get them to at least, see a different perspective, because as you can imagine, in mainstream medicine and Western medicine, obviously, doctors are very stubborn for the most part. They don't want to know about anything else. They follow their protocol, and they don't want to hear anything else. So to get doctors, as we've been doing, interested and going to the conferences that that I sponsor, has been a very difficult journey, but at the same time, it's very gratifying when you see that doctors finally...
Well, we actually do that. Every time we go to doctor's office, I have literally printed out material. I don't care if they, are interested or not. My point is, it's real and it's happening. So if you are interested, I have material, I leave it there in the office, and surprisingly, a lot of them are now getting more and more aware of this mycotoxins. They still don't know how it actually works at the cell level.
Yes.
But when I start a little bit mentioning it, they're like,
Interesting. I mean, I think that the power comes in the numbers. And I don't know if on social media, we have a lot of groups, support groups, mold toxic groups that are people that are, anywhere from coming into this illness all the way into having years of exposure, and then are helping others with the different treatments and the different protocols that they followed to be able to get back to health. Now, one of the things that I've seen with SEERS is that given the right protocols and diet and the right curriculum, the people can get, which is the hope and the light at the end of the tunnel. People could get their life back. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey and where you're going with this? Are you feeling better once you've gotten into the protocol?
Yes, the journey started off very rough, because like we said, we didn't understand. But then Dr. Tanya started to explain to us what we need to do, and I started taking the powder that would help me bond cholesterol to help bind the things and get it out of my system. They started to have me taking different supplements to help me, and I'm going to be honest with you, when I started to do that, I started to feel better, and I started to literally get my mind back, because I started to
But
break
the current
down.
just came.
I started to break down because I started feeling that, you know what, I'm crazy. There has to be something wrong with me. Because no one else
Sure.
knows what's going on, but I know there's something wrong. And people see it, but they can't diagnose to me what's wrong. And when Dr. Tanya started to give us these things, my wife, who is incredible, I give hats off to her, because a lot of people will give up because they can't understand why their significant other is struggling like that. My wife
Sure.
just put her foot down, and she really started to study more and figure out things and find out natural ways. And it was incredible because, you know, we lived in Finland and we went last year to Finland, and that was the first time in 3 years I felt normal, almost 100%.
That's amazing.
It was, you know, of course Finland's different, you know, we're in the woods, it's a different situation, but I felt normal, and that was the first time I woke up expecting to have a pain, an ache, you know, headache, something like that, and I didn't. And day by day I was like, okay, you know, I'm actually remembering words, I can enunciate, I don't have to.
You had energy, you were playing with the kids.
I was with my kids again, because that was sad for my boys to say, when is daddy going to be better again? I don't like how daddy's always tired. So for me, that was incredible to be able to go to the trampoline and bounce with them and just have fun with them, go and fish with them. And they're like, my daddy's back.
That's
You know?
amazing.
Yeah.
So for me, that was incredible. But unfortunately, we came back, and where I worked, they were breaking down the building.
Yeah.
And again, that superpower, as soon as they started the construction,
Re-exposure.
Yes.
I felt it. And it hit me hard, to the point I had to wear a mask to give my lessons. And after that,
3 months after that, he
I
had
suffered a stroke.
stroke.
And, you know, I just want to be on the record and say, I don't know if the mold caused it, but this is what happened to me after.
Okay.
And I suffered a stroke and was paralyzed for 6 months.
And he has no risk factors for stroke.
Wow.
Okay.
Except stress, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of people talk about re-exposure, and you know, I'm really sorry that you had to go through this. This is, you know, one of the saddest things that I have to go through is when I talk to the different people and hearing all the different stories of what they've gone through with their health and how they've lost certain things, and people have actually taken their lives because of this. And you know, the one thing that I want to give out there as far as the hope is that you know, once you know what you have and getting to know your illness and getting the right doctors will definitely put you on the right track.
Yes.
To getting better and getting a healthier life. We try our best to constantly get the awareness out there. The same thing that you do with doctors. We've held now. We had the first of its kind called Proficiency Partners. I don't know if you've heard, which is the first time that Dr. Richie Shoemaker has given a course where it's a one-day course to get doctors started on his certification process.
That was just recent, I believe.
Yes, in Miami.
Yeah, that was it took place in Miami in September of last year,
Yeah.
and we were the ones who sponsored everything and brought him over.
That was great.
And it was a great success in the sense that a lot of people now know about this serious illness. A lot of doctors are aware. Still, a lot of them are on the fence, not turning over, but now with the conference we just had, 2 weeks ago, we had more doctors show up. We're actually getting doctors right now. One of them is closing down their practice to study for the exam. So it's been a hard battle, but we're starting to see light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that, as I mentioned, that I like to serve as a conduit is when I started this business in mold, even before we were doing plethysmograph, which is a controlled PFT, pulmonary function test, and we were seeing that a lot of the children and adults were also presenting other symptoms, not just respiratory issues.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where my interest first sparked. And when I got into this business, I always probed a little bit more to see what was going on with the environment. And it almost got to the point where I knew how bad latent defect or hidden areas of mold were just by listening to some of the things that the people were expressing. And that's what really ignited the passion that I have to be able to help people and serve as a vehicle to take them to the right doctors and get them certified. Now, here in Miami, as I told Richie Shoemaker, we are trying to light up this city with doctors, and since we are, we have the gate of the Americas, everybody comes to Miami at some point or another. We get all different nationalities and ethnic groups and everything. Yeah, I think it's going to be the first pilot city that's going to have the most certified doctors, and then from there, hopefully, we can cascade nationwide. I'm just really honestly tired of seeing people suffer with this illness.
Yes, and misdiagnosed, and just spending just money on things that won't help. I mean, it's not good, and we need this. We need to have more awareness for sure.
Yes, the one thing I want to also say to people out there is that we lost everything. I mean, everything. They told us, you can't take any of this because you're going to be carrying it.
Anything porous has
We
porous.
lost everything. I had
Clothing, everything.
things signed by professional athletes, things that my sons had, signed. We couldn't take with us. They were thrown away. I can never get those things back. Am I upset? Slightly. But I feel better that I'm here. So that's why I want to tell people that you will lose your things, but if they're still here and your family's still together, because we've been through highs and we're, even as we speak, barely getting by.
Yeah.
But we have each other. And for me, that's more important than anything. Because like you said, people have taken their lives. And I've been in some very dark places where I felt like, you know what? I'd be better off if my wife and kids would just leave and let me suffer by myself. Because I don't like them seeing that. But the one thing my best friend right here and my wife said to me is, when we said I do, you're stuck with me. So we're going to do this together. So I'm blessed to know that I have her, because like you said, a lot of people don't stick with you. I'm stuck with her, but I'm happy that she's stuck with me, because she's, the days I'm really down, she said, we're going to get through this.
No, I say we're gonna get out of this funkiness.
That's
That's what I say.
Thank you
You
for
can
being
stay there
here
for a while,
because
but it's gonna have to go.
that was very touching, and that is very inspiring. It really motivates me to just continue doing what I'm doing. See, I'm not doing this to try to create any revenues for me. I've been blessed with my business, and there's more than enough mold to go around to be able to fix environments. But this is something that nobody is doing. Nobody's really taking this to the next level and taking it where it needs to go. And I made a promise, out to a lot of these groups out there, is that the one thing that this illness needs, and I'm sure you would agree, is a voice and recognition. Because other chronic illnesses, cancer, leukemia, you name it, when you talk about those things, people will listen, they would be understanding, compassionate, and they will go out of their way to do whatever it is they need to help you. But this is something that they just don't understand. It's not something that's recognized. And if it's not something that's recognized by the government, by the health authorities, and much less by the practitioners, it's just going to be something that's going to continue getting discarded. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm going to continue fighting for people just like you in this situation. I thank you so much for opening your home, your beautiful home, introducing us to your beautiful wife, and telling us your story, because it really is captivating and it's so inspiring. I don't even have the right words right now to tell you how moved I am with your story, but it must be hard even going back and opening up these chapters in your life to be able to share and express to these people that are out there that are suffering in silence that there is hope, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Always hope. Always hope.
And
yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's interesting you said that, because I promised myself when I get healthier, I'm going to start a nonprofit charity where I want to, like you, give more information for stroke and mold survivors. Because, like you said, there needs to be more of us out there talking about this and giving education, because people don't know. And if they don't know, they're going to continue to go through that same cycle.
Just educate people.
Yes,
Mold is not normal. We've heard that more than anything.
Yes.
Especially here in Miami. Oh no, it's just mold. Mold is everywhere.
Mold is everywhere.
Normal.
It's part. We're living in a human environment. It's and I couldn't agree with everything you're saying more. I wish I could tell you that I don't hear this often. It's a lot more often than what you think. The stories are just devastating, and one of the things you mentioned a little while ago was how expensive treatment is, because a lot of times insurance does not cover. But one of the things that maybe we could talk and and stay in touch together, because like I said, the power comes in the will to be able to change this whole arena, and not only that, but that organization that you mentioned, I thought of opening up an organization and getting funds for people that have lost it all.
That is exactly what we are planning to do.
Yeah.
We don't want anyone to be in the situation we were in. We had nowhere to go. We didn't know who to contact. We would love to have a foundation. When something happens, look, that there's awareness, there's foundations out there that actually can help you when you're going through this process, because it's horrible. And it's scary.
People sleeping in their cars. They have kids. They don't know where to go. They're confused. They don't have money to buy groceries.
Yeah.
We've done every single one of those. But I'm going to say one more thing. We've been blessed because one of my students, 10 years old, 10, decided with her parents, she said, I can't see my coach struggle like this. So she started a GoFundMe page to help me with my medical and everything, 10 years old. And she raised $27,000
Oh wow.
for me and my family to pay for the medical bills. I'm still in therapy. Her name's Emma Weisenfeld, and she's my little angel. And like I said, to have a little girl do that for you, it's. I thought I don't even know how I can ever repay them, because we wouldn't have had.
I wouldn't be able to stay home and rehab you back to. I had to quit everything, and I was determined to get him better. So it was blessing.
So it's a blessing. God bless her little heart, and we learned so much from everything that's happening with this illness, but we learn more from little girls like her who put her heart on the line, saying, "I don't want to see my coach like this," and did what she did, not expecting to have this kind of return. And that's why we're not going to give up, right? This is something that we're going to work together. We're going to continue fighting. Now that we met each other and we have the same heart and the same feel for this is something that we're going to take to the next level, yes?
Yes.
And I'm sorry.
It's interesting you said that, because I promised myself when I get healthier, I'm going to start a nonprofit charity where I want to, like you, give.
I want to thank you guys so much for opening up your heart, your homes,
Thank you.
and for those people that want to find out more information and see this story, you're going to be able to go to www.mrmoldinc.com for all the information when it comes to the medical, all the academic articles, the research papers, and everything when it comes to the medical, you can go to survivingmold.com. And the founder, Dr. Richie Shoemaker, will have a fountain of wealth of information there that you can learn from. But the most important thing I want everybody to take from this interview is don't give up. Hold on. Hold on tight. We're here. We're doing everything we can to fight for this voice, and we will succeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Thank
much.
you so much.
Thank you.
guys.
Having that said, Mr. Mold out.